Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel, and it's March. That can only mean one thing for us retro guys, and that's Marchintosh, where we take a look at all things, well, Macintosh. Yes, I know, we retro guys are dorks and we make up names for a lot of these months involving retro computers, so we can keep them at least relevant for the next generations. But hey, it's a lot of fun regardless. And in this video, this is my Macintosh Classic. And this video is not about this, but I need to talk about this real quick so we can talk about what we're going to be doing in this video. So the reason why we're not talking about the Classic here in this video is because, well, it's already done. I've already done several restoration videos on this thing in the past when I picked up 3 of these things and used parts from all 3. The best board, the best case, the best, well, least burnt in CRT, basically the best components, and built one really good, really functioning Mac Classic. And surprisingly, after all this time, the hard drive still works. And in a previous video with this thing, I got the floppy drive to finally fully work, to be able to not only format and write floppies, but to read floppies as well, which means this thing is now fully done. I really don't have to do anything with it. No, instead, the reason why we need to talk about this real quick is so we can talk about this. Its older brother, the Macintosh SE30. And a lot of you who are watching this are probably wondering, well, hey, wait a minute. If you already have a Macintosh Classic, why do you want to restore an SE30? The SE30s came out in 1988, and the Macintosh Classic came out in 1990. This is 2 years newer, which means by computing standards, this one should be the most powerful, the latest, and, you know, the better machine here versus the 2-year older machine. And yes, for the most part, that is true. In the history of computing, it even doesn't matter if it's retro vintage like this time or modern days, usually later computers are generally better than their prior counterparts. 10th gen Intel is better than 9th gen Intel. The Core i series was better than the Core 2 series. The Pentium 4 was supposed to be better than the Pentium 3. The Pentium 2 was better than the original Pentium, and you get the idea. However, when it comes to Macintoshes, specifically talking about these two here, this logic has to be reversed. Yes, the Macintosh Classic here came out in 1990. Specifically, this one was sold in 1991, so it has 3 years on this one. But the Macintosh Classic here is actually one of the least desirable of the compact Macs, and it's generally considered one of the weakest of the compact Macs of its era. That's because the Macintosh Classic here is nothing more than a refreshed, modernized, at the time, Macintosh Plus, sporting a 8 MHz Motorola 68000 CPU. And that's just 68000. That's not the 68010, 68020, 68030, etc. That's just the bog standard 68000 CPU. And yes, factory had 1 MB of RAM with a max total capacity RAM of 4 MB. And yes, in 1980s, I believe 1986, 1985, when the Macintosh Plus came out, even 1 MB of RAM was a whole crap ton of RAM, especially considering that at that point, the average PC was only rocking 640K of RAM, and 1 MB was almost unheard of at the time. Even my 5170, which currently has 1 MB of RAM, that would have been, whoa, what are you doing with that kind of memory there, buddy? Back in 1984, 1985. And yes, this may have a few upgrades over the original Macintosh Plus. It has built-in System 6 and ROM. It has a high-density floppy drive instead of the double density like the Macintosh Plus, and it has the ability to take an internal SCSI drive. Still didn't help the fact that in 1990, this was barely adequate for a Macintosh. Now, coming back to the SE30, which yes, came out in 1988, this is actually one of the most desirable of the 68K compact Macs, if not considered one of the most upgradable and most powerful of this form factor of Mac, sporting a much more powerful Motorola 68000 CPU. In fact, I don't remember the exact number off the top of my head. I believe it's the 68020, I believe is in here, with also sporting an internal SCSI hard drive. I believe these were 30 or 40 MB, and a high density floppy drive as well. However, it's the fact that this has an upgrade port known as the PDS slot, and the amount of RAM this thing can take would have just blown people's minds in 1988. This thing at max officially can take, I believe it's 8 MB of RAM, if not 16 MB of RAM. And I know you're thinking, well, that's not a whole lot. I mean, okay, on the low side, let's say 8 MB. That's only double what the Macintosh Classic can do. And realistically, this is 1980, this is the late 80s. What program could possibly use that much RAM, right? That's the idea. That's the point. Remember what I said about 5170 only having 1 megabyte of RAM? The 5170 was sold up until 1988, the same year this thing came out, and it was basically unrealistic to have more than a megabyte of RAM in one of those. Even though the 286 could handle a crap ton more RAM, a lot of them just didn't, because why would you need nearly a megabyte of RAM? And this could handle up to 8 megabytes of RAM. And even though we're not going to be given a full restoration in this video, in fact, I'm probably not even going to be getting it fully restored this month, I want to get this thing torn apart and see what all it's going to need, because the SE30s here are also known for needing possibly a lot of work. These have the same issues that all the compact Macs have. The battery can leak, destroy traces. The capacitors can leak and cause issues. The analog board caps can leak and cause all sorts of weird power-up issues. The hard drives can be dead. The floppy drives can be dead. These things, the SE30s, for as desirable as they are, need a crap ton of work to get going. And I have no idea what this thing's going to need. As you can see from some shots I'm getting here, this thing's actually very dirty. It's a little yellowed. There's some sticky residue on top. There's a couple scrapes. There's dust in the vents. It's missing the programmer's keys on the sides. Like I said, this thing's gonna need a lot of work. But unlike the Macintosh Classic, the SE30, like I said, can take a whole plethora of upgrades. And there's a whole bunch of modern replacement parts for these things. In fact, you can almost build a completely new SE30 from the ground up with all the third-party parts that are out there. Complete analog boards, power supplies, PDS cards, main boards. In fact, the only thing that could be original on this thing would be the monitor and the frame. I mean, you can get RAM, you can get all the stuff and parts for it. Best case scenario, this thing would need a motherboard recap. Worst case scenario, it would have to be basically rebuilt from the ground up, with the only parts basically being original to it would be the case and the CRT. And unlike my Macintosh Classic series, in which I had 3 machines that I could mix and match parts with to get one good running machine, I've only ever come across one SE30 in the entirety that I've been looking for these compact Macs. In fact, the Classic and the SE30 is the only 2 I've actually come across. So I need to be way more careful than I would have with the Classic. So let's get this into the computer room and start taking it apart and see what this thing's gonna need. Okay. Here we are with the Mac SE30. And I apologize for any glare going on right now. I'm recording this in the afternoon and my basement window is like literally right there. But it gives me plenty of natural light. So we have the Mac SE30. As you can see, it's nearly identical to the Macintosh Classic. The only real difference is they got rid of the forward grates here. They moved the floppy drive up a little bit. But for the most part, it's in the exact same form factor. None of the parts are interchangeable from the Classic to the SE30, I don't think. The only thing I think that might be is maybe the CRT, but this one, I don't know, I don't see any burn-in so far, but time will tell on that. So let's get this thing cracked open and see what it needs. Okay, so before I take the main body off here, I do want to say something real quick. I have had this apart when I first got it. I took the cover off, took the motherboard out, took the battery off, and then put it back together and then set it aside. I didn't know when I was going to get to it. I didn't want to run the risk of that battery blowing up between, well, then and now. It's actually been like two and a half years since I picked this thing up. So clearly I was, not on top of getting it restored, but at least I did get proactive and take the battery out, which you should always do if you pick up one of these things. Take the frickin' batteries out. Oh, that is nasty. I don't know how well you can see it, but you can kind of see that some of the grates are blocked over here. That's all dust and dirt. I'll get some better shots of that here after a bit. Look how gnarly that fan is. Oh, that's gross. Take this off. So far, it's just really dusty so far. I'll get some better up-close shots. There's some whole bunch of dirt on CRT, whole bunch of stuff on the main board. There's some crusty stuff on the flyback. I don't like that. That could be a problem. I don't know if the flyback's the same from the Mac Classic to not. I have a spare analog board for the Classic, but I don't know if it's the same that I could intermix parts. 40 megabyte quantum hard drive, which is probably dead. And we have a high density floppy. And well, since I repaired the one in the Classic, that one should be no problem. Okay, and there is the Macintosh SE30's main board. And it's actually, well, a lot cleaner than I was fully expecting. I didn't take a good look at it before when I took the battery out, which is right here, but you can see there's no corrosion on it. So it never leaked, which is good. We'll take a closer look here in a second, but where's the CPU? So here is the Motorola 68030. So I need to look at what the specs are for that, but yeah, clearly much more powerful than the classics bog standard, just 68,000. And here we have the RAM. We have 4 matching and 4 matching. So we have 2 different sets of RAM. We have the really weird ROM situation, which is on a RAM looking stick. Yeah, not too bad a shape. I don't see any evidence of leaking caps so far. I'm not sure about the power supply yet, but it's definitely dusty. Take these little push pins off. Danger. High voltage. Really? I do see one issue, and that's this right here. In fact, it actually, I don't know if you can see it, goes onto this other side of this plug. Well, it got really hot. But yeah, as you can see, it's just really dusty. Evidence so far of any bulging caps, which is interesting, yet also a little concerning at the same time, because I would kind of expect this to have some sort of issues. Yeah, look at that. That connector is right there. I don't know if it's burnt, but that's definitely seen some abuse. I kind of wonder what the power on time of this thing is, because that is just absurd. So here is the SC30's main board, and just for fun, we're going to compare it to the Classics main board here in terms of size. Yeah, it's just, there's a lot more consolidation on this board versus this one, but also this one, a lot more powerful than this one. We have the programmer keys over here, the built-in SCSI, Poppy controller, the CPU, glue logic. I'm really not sure what all these chips really do. Some of them I can kind of guess. The RAM out. So yeah, these are 30-pin SIMs, pretty common SIMs. These are Texas Instruments TM256 HU8As. I have to look up to see what these are. And these in the forward are Samsung KMM 58256BN-8s. Also 30-pin SIMs. You know, I'm kind of thinking, I might be wrong by this. I think this is 2 megabyte. I think each of these are 256K. And I think these are 256K, if I'm looking at this correctly. And here is a really interesting way to do a ROM setup. Yeah, it looks like a RAM stick, and it does. It looks like a 52, or it looks like a 72 or 64, whatever pin RAM module. But yeah, no, this is how they did the ROMs. Which I don't know why they did it this way. I mean, I guess maybe it's because, I guess technically with the way the board's set up, there really wasn't room for 2 extra ROM chips plus all the traces, so this is what they did. I want to see if I can get the power supply off. What do I need to do for that? And there's the drive cages with that very dusty 40 megabyte quantum hard drive. And this, oh, that's nasty. Very, very dirty. Sony 2 megabyte MPF75W-01G high density drive. The same drive that I actually put in the Apple II GS's 3.5 inch assembly so that I can get it to read floppies. Okay, that was a little nerve-wracking. But yeah, we have the analog board out, and I don't see, yeah, there's no bulging caps. Definitely dusty. Well, hold on. I see some rust right there. So I want to get this cover off, and I want to get this power supply off, take the cover off. I want to see what's going on in here, because I am curious about why there's rust. What's really weird is these screws almost seem like they're a little rounded off already, which is very strange. Ooh, there's a lot of caps in here. But there is residue in here of something. I'm not quite sure what it is. Yep, okay, so there's a bulging cap right here. This cap's bulging. Let's get this power supply off real quick. Like fully off. Yeah, that's a lot worse right there. But yeah, I don't know if you can see it. I'll get some better quality shots, but this one's bulging. This one is. All right, let's get this board out. Okay, so we have the power supply fully out of its chassis, and yeah, I don't know if you can see it, but I'll get some close-up shots, but there's some nastiness right there. Like this whole section of the board, you can see it is just grody. There's something all over it. There's a hot spot right there, but I don't think that's a problem. I'm more concerned about all this, which means something in here just let go. I'm not quite sure what, because this one's bulging. This one's bulging. Okay, so yeah. Awesome. All right, so, and yes, I'm standing over here in front of the Apple IIs instead of the torn apart SE30, because if I had the camera facing that way, it causes really bad lens flare blowout. Anyway, so I've got the SE30 fully torn apart down to its bare components, and I'm really glad that I did. And I didn't just throw power at it like I often do with other machines. Because of some issues I found that need to be addressed before I ever put power to this thing at all. First up is the main board, which is actually stupidly clean. The battery, like I said, I took it out when I first got it and then put it back together because I didn't know how long it was going to be before I got to it, and it's been 2.5 years. So obviously, I'm glad I took that out. I really don't see too much residue of the caps that had leaked, which is really not a good indication of whether or not they're good or not. It's really not, but yeah, I do see a little bit of residue and stuff all around C3 and C4. So I think at the very least, I'm going to scrub this board with some rubbing alcohol, especially in that area, get all whatever that residue stuff is off. I'm not sure if it's just dust or debris or what that is, but yeah, I need to get rid of it, need to get it off. So I'm going to do that here in the future. And I am going to recap this board, just not right away. I want to get it cleaned up, and I want to see what works and what doesn't work once I throw power at it. And the reason why I say not yet is because I remember watching Adrian Black at Adrian's Digital Basement. He recapped an I think it was an SC, I think it was a standard SC board actually. I don't remember if it was SC or SC30, but he accidentally crossed to a 12 volt rail and just sent 12 volt across the board. I mean, obviously it was an accident. That kind of stuff can happen when you're doing minute traces. But obviously that has me a little, my own skills are bad enough as they are. I don't need any more concern about that. So I don't know if I'm going to recap this right away. I am going to clean it up and then go from there. But yeah, main board's actually pretty good. So the analog board is actually very surprising. It's in very good shape. It's actually, okay, I was going to say clean. It's not clean. It's very nasty, very dirty. But all the caps are intact. They're not bulging. There's no discoloration like a cap had let go and started corroding anything. There is a discoloration on that plug and on the back side, and there is some residue stuff on the flyback, but I don't think that's too huge of a deal. I don't think. Obviously, it's just extremely dusty and dirty. Whatever environment it was in was just nasty, but yeah, I'm going to give it a good cleaning, blow the dust and stuff off of it, clean it very, very well and thoroughly. I am going to order a cap kit for it as a just in case there's any issues with these caps, but at the moment, I don't think there's an issue like at all. The drives here are going to be a kind of an interesting story. I'm like 90% sure that the drive here is going to be dead. And the only reason why I'm going off of that is because of the 3 Macintosh Classics, which were later versions of the Macintosh 68K series. 2 of those 3 drives were dead. They didn't boot. They never booted. They either made weird noise or they didn't even spin up. So this quantum hard drive, I'm preemptively saying that's probably going to be dead. I'm not going to cast it off though. I am going to still put power to it and try it out when I get everything put back together on that machine. But I'm 90% certain it's going to be dead. The floppy drive here, I'm going to very, very, very carefully get it cleaned up, lubed up, serviced, like I did with the ones in the Macintosh Classic and the Apple II GS. That way, at the very least, if the drive is dead, I can at least boot it from some kind of floppy, I guess. But yeah, it's extremely dirty. That's going to be like a whole episode in and of itself. However, the most surprising aspect of this is the power supply board here. There's a whole entire section of it that is just covered in some sort of fluid. There's a whole bunch of corrosion on it. Something let go on this power supply board, and I'm not sure exactly what, but it is in this top section here. I'm really glad I didn't put power to it, because knowing my luck, I would have, and this entire section would have just into flames. For all I know, I don't. It's disgusting, actually. It smells awful. So this is definitely going to have to be serviced, but I'm actually going to be looking into which is going to be more cost effective and time effective. Recapping this entire section, hoping there's no bad traces, hoping there's no underlying damage somewhere. Or if I should go the route of beginning one of the upgrades for this thing and just replace the power supply with a aftermarket one. They do exist, and I've seen them. I just don't know how much they are off the top of my head, but this might be something I might have to replace. So I'm really glad I didn't put power to it, because this probably would have caused some issues. And there is some corrosion here on this little coil here, so I'm just really glad I never powered this thing up. So unlike the Macintosh Classic that I restored a couple years ago, this one needs a lot more work, which is not too surprising. I expected it to need some work on the electrical side anyway, especially involving caps, but I just wasn't expecting there to be what was clean to be clean and what was damaged to be damaged. I was actually expecting the analog board or the main board to have corrosion on it, not the power supply unit. So obviously, you got to do a lot more work on this thing to get it back up and fully working. And I don't know if I'm going to get to that later on this month or not. I'll just have to see, in terms of finances and in terms of ordering any parts for this thing. But this thing is going to be made up and running. Hopefully, ideally, soon. I'm just going to say trademark soon. With all that being said, thank you all so much for watching this video. Really hope you enjoyed me taking apart this little SE30 here for Marchintosh. And obviously, it didn't go as well as I was kind of want it to go. I mean, obviously, realistically, best case scenario, obviously, would have been me just be able to put power to it, and it just worked, like some machines I have down here. But it's also not worst case scenario in which it got battery bombed and it would basically be needing everything besides the CRT in the case. It obviously needs a little bit of work, which is, again, not too surprising with this era of computer, and also the fact that it's an SE30. All these compact Macs need a little bit of work to get working, and hopefully, like I said, I can get this one working in a reasonably quick fashion. If you have any thoughts or comments about this video, whether it's the Macintosh Classic or the SE30 here, whether it's which would be the best operating system to run on this thing, what would be a good amount of RAM to throw at this thing, any good upgrades to throw at it once I get it working, maybe a good source for replacement parts, any go-to games that would be really cool to run on here if I can get it working, or the SE or the Macintosh Classic. If you have any advice about any of the damage that I did find, like maybe the power supply, maybe you've seen that kind of damage and you can give me advice on, oh yeah, just cap it, recap it, and go. Or if it's a don't even bother with it, throw it away, you're going to have more problems than it's worth. Or if you've seen any of that discoloration that's on the analog board or the yoke tube harness, let me know. I would absolutely love to hear about it, because I don't want to have any issues getting this thing up and running or shorting out more things and causing more issues. And be on the lookout for a lot more Macintosh themed stuff coming out this month, not just from me, but from several other YouTubers. I know I have a few more little Macintosh themed-ish projects I want to try and do this month for Marchintosh that I haven't been able to get to in the past, so hopefully I can get to them in a reasonable fashion. That being said, again, thank you all so much for watching this video. Have a fun Marchintosh, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.